Good evening, everyone. I don't know how I didn't realize it started. And welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. Um, we're gonna run our intro and we'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. Um, awesome. We got our straggler. We're gonna add her right on in. Typically we are on every Thursday at 8 p.m. And as promised, right in the nick of time before the month is out, we are here tonight to have our conversation about breast cancer to hopefully raise some awareness, share. We have a guest that's going to come on and share some of her experience. But we did not want the month to end without tackling this topic. And I did not want to tackle the topic without adequate information. And I didn't just want to have stats and, stuff out of paper. I wanted someone that could speak to the real life experience. So we have a wonderful guest on tonight. We are going to go ahead and bring her on. Okay.
Hi.
Wow. So our guest for tonight is Lady Peggy Payton.
Yes.
She is a wife, a mother, a first lady of jurisdiction, and a first lady of a church. So she is joining us tonight to, I'm sorry, two churches. Two. She wears a lot of hats, has a lot of titles. I don't want to try to minimize any of them, but we are going to kind of, I guess, ask some questions, or would you rather us just open the floor and you speak about your experience? What's the most comfortable way for you to do this, Lady Payton?
What happened?
I think she's trying to fix her
I
camera.
can't hear anything.
Uh-oh. Okay, I can hear you.
Can't hear anything.
You can't hear us? No. Uh-oh.
No.
She could hear us before you brought her back in. Did you do
Yeah.
something, Samantha?
Can't hear anything.
Uh-oh.
What you did when you brought her back in?
I didn't do anything.
Let me text her. And then
Okay, so I'm just going to take her off from the screen for a minute. Um, and I'm gonna take Shanetta off as well, and they can work through, see if she can help her to get back on. In the meantime, so we're just gonna talk a little bit, catch you guys up on what's going on. Vanessa, you want to give some updates?
Well, I'm wearing my breast cancer awareness shirt. So make sure that you check your pumpkins for lumpkins.
Okay. That
Um, I do know some cancer survivors, breast cancer survivors. So um, I was definitely kind of excited about being able to participate as a good friend of mine. I was there for the very beginning of her journey
okay.
when she found out about having breast cancer. And honestly, like all the faith in the world does not prepare you for that kind of news. Um, because, you know, nobody expects to hear that or get that response. So to just watch her go through the process and, you know, like try to enlist her family members, her children, and encourage them to get tested. You know, that like to see the processes that you have to go through, even like with the food that you can't eat, medicines that you can't take, like, you know, you really go through a lot of changes, and it isn't easy to just have a diagnosis. You know, any and everything that you have going on, work, you know what I'm saying? Like the dynamics of that whole situation, like it is very life altering when you have to, you know, go through something, and possibly the shame that may come along with, you know, having this type of illness you don't want to share with people. You know what I'm saying? You don't want anybody to pity you. It's like, okay, well, you know, like for me, I kind of struggle with the idea of if I had some type of ailment, like, am I selfish for not sharing with everybody, you know, attempting to suffer in silence, that sort of thing. So it's definitely a journey.
Okay, so we are gonna give this another try, and hopefully Lady Payne can hear us this time.
I can hear you now.
Okay, yay! All right, so thank you guys for bearing with us while we had a few technical difficulties. Okay, so Lady Payne, I was asking you, what's the most comfortable way to have this conversation? Should we ask you questions? Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit of your story? What's the best way to proceed?
You can ask questions. I don't care. I mean, it's been 20 years, and
Oh, okay.
it started out. I had a lump, and I thought it was a cyst, so I just kept putting it off, and didn't think nothing about it. And finally, my daughter had a dream, and she begged me, please go to the hospital. She said, you got to go. She said, I've dreamed you was dying. So I went, and they found the lump. They did an ultrasound and told me that they thought it might be cancer. So I did a biopsy. Sure enough, it was. And then they told me I needed to do chemotherapy and to shrink it, and then they were going to do the surgery. And I said, no, just do the surgery. And so they did it. At first, I got a second opinion because I didn't like what I heard the first doctor say. So when I went to the other doctor, they told me the same thing. And so he did the surgery, and I told him. And so afterwards, he said, well, I think I got it all. And they told my family that they thought it was more cancer than they first thought. And so he said, I think I got it all. He said, but I want you to do chemotherapy to make sure, because it did spread to the lymph node. So anytime it spread to the lymph node, it could, you know, spread to other places that they couldn't see.
Okay.
So he said he wanted me to go ahead and do the chemotherapy. He said I didn't have to do radiation, but he did want me to do chemotherapy. And I told him I'd do my own chemotherapy. I wasn't going to do it. So.
Well,
But so I came home and did what I felt like God put in my spirit to do.
Okay.
And that was go the natural way. So I did that. And I know you, Sister McNair, you know I was juicing, doing everything that I possibly could. And it's been 20 years now.
Okay.
To God be the glory.
Amen.
wow.
Okay, so you opted out of the chemo, the radiation, all of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you first, like, going back to where you first discovered the lump and you thought it was a cyst, I think that's the piece that sometimes a lot of us don't really know. If you've never been through it or experienced it, you don't really know what that, like, I guess, feels like. Like, were you in pain in the area? Was it obvious? Or was it something that you just kind of stumbled upon? Like, how did that discovery part happen?
Well, the lump was so big that I felt it. You could actually see it through the clothes.
Okay.
And I think it was about as big as an orange.
Oh.
And then I had a lump under my arm, as big as an egg.
Wow.
So that lymph node was in the arm. But then he told him when he was doing the surgery, he was going to take out some lymph nodes. He said, now I'm going to take out some. He said, if you have more than 3, the chances are it's spread it to somewhere else. He said, but if it's more than 3, it's probably spread somewhere. But if it's less than 3, you might have a good chance. Do you know it went in that one lymph node, that's where it stayed?
Oh, wow.
The lymph node under my arm got so big, but that's where it stayed. It didn't go anywhere else.
Wow.
And I knew that was God doing, because I decided I would just go ahead and start walking because I wanted to lose weight. And so I started walking, and didn't realize then that walking was helping me, because I heard later that cancer cells can't live in oxygen. So I actually was helping myself and didn't know it. God had me on a path that I didn't even know what was going on.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Okay, you said that was 20 years ago. So you haven't had any other issues since then?
No.
Wow. And have you kept the same diet? Have you you've gone?
No, I kept the diet for a good while, but I kind of fell off the wagon. So I still try to eat healthy as much as possible, but it's not as strict as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
At one time, I wasn't hardly eating. I wasn't eating nothing, no meat at all.
Oh, okay.
So, but now, I do.
So was it something that was like, I know a lot of times they talk about like hereditary type things, had anybody in your family before you had any cancerous issues?
No, that's why I didn't think it was cancer, because nobody in my family had ever had cancer. And I was just, 51 at the time that it happened. So I just didn't think it was cancer because nobody in my family had it. So I was the first. And I think what happened was, I want to say it was because I was doing a lot of work in my mother's house. I was painting and wasn't doing the mask. I was spray painting. I was taking up carpet, and she had mold up under the carpet and stuff, and I didn't have on a mask or anything like that. So I contribute that to a lot of toxin, the thing that got in my body. So that's what I think happened. I don't know for sure. And then my daughter was working in the hospital, pathologist or something like that, and she came across my my medical records. And she looked at it, she said, "Mom, did you know you had triple negative cancer? That's cancer that they don't have any treatment for. And they can't believe you didn't do chemo and you still here."
Wow.
Because it's a rare cancer. But because most cancer women get in the breast is hormonal driven. Mine wasn't.
Okay.
Mine was triple negative, and they said there's no treatment for it.
Okay, so in 20 years, I know that you've encountered, especially because you are the first lady of a church and 2 churches. I know you've encountered other women that have gotten a diagnosis. What's your advice to them? Like, how do you relate to them? Do you tell them your story? Like, what's your group then that happens?
I tell them my story, but I never tell anybody what I did, because everybody have a different path. Because what works for one might not work for the other. Right. So I don't tell them if they want to do chemo, if that's what God lead them to do, that's what they do. But that just wasn't what God was leading me to do. So I think too, I encourage people to do what's put in their spirit. That's what I did. I just fell in the floor, and I asked God to show me what I should do, because I don't want to do anything on my own. I don't want to go by what the doctor's telling me to do. I just wanted to do what God was telling me to do. So when I got clearance from him and I got up off the floor smiling, then I had peace. So I said, okay, this is what God will have me to do. And I went to the doctor one time, and the lady was saying, I need to do and do this and that. And I didn't realize I was smiling. She said, why are you smiling? She said, this is serious. Why are you smiling? I said, oh, I didn't know I was smiling. But I didn't let it rattle me because I trusted what God had put in my spirit.
Wow. So at no point you was just a straight trooper through it all?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
I would have to attest to that as well, because I can remember like when you all first gave I want to say the beginning of the testimony is how I'll kind of like frame it, that you were actually, you know, going through this and that, you know, you were trusting God. Just being an onlooker and watching and knowing how serious breast cancer is, but sitting and watching the faith that you all maintained throughout the process was, for me, kind of like amazing within itself, because it's like, wow, if you can watch somebody go through that and you know it's tough, you know it's hard, you know that everything in life is changing, and that we watch other people go through it and they don't really come out on the other end of it all. It's just kind of like, it's definitely a faith builder. But even to see the healthy process and just the process of, hey, I'm committed to my health so much so that I'm going to change the way I eat, that I'm going to change the things that I'm doing. When I don't know how good food was to you at that point, but I know I'm a lover of eating and food. And we talk about that every week on here, how I like to eat.
No, I like
to know, you know, that, you know, you have to make drastic changes. I know that had to be like, did you make everybody change at that time? Or was it just like,
it was just me.
Okay.
They wasn't having it. It was just me.
So,
and they thought I was off the rocker. They thought you just going overboard. I said, I'm doing what I need to do.
Wow. So you made something different. So you cooked for your husband and then made something special for yourself?
Yep.
That's where that is where I falter. Like, I start off really good, but just making something for me, making something for him, making something for the kids. Right. Like,
everybody eating salad.
No, they wasn't having it.
Yeah, I need to get my level of determination up, because after a while I just be like, forget it. I'm just gonna eat whatever.
Well, see, the will to live will make you do what's necessary to do.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't ready to leave my family.
Was there any along the way? So I know you didn't do the radiation and the chemo, but was there any other type of treatment that they wanted you to do once you refused the radiation and the chemo? Was there something else that they were saying, or were they looking for, like, did they prescribe something else or anything like that?
No, my doctor told me he wanted me to see the oncologist or something so they could tell me some of the things to do. And I didn't do it.
So
I look back at it and said, you crazy. You know what they tell me? You crazy.
Right. So from the point of diagnosis to the point of what is the final, when you go in and they say you're cancer free? Clearance? Is that, my brain is leaving me at the moment.
Well, when he told me that he got all the cancer that he could see, I declared it was gone. Okay, if you got all that you could see, all you didn't see, I'm gonna juice until it go. So I did that.
And how long was that? Like, how long was the total process of that?
I think I did that for about 2 or 3 months.
Oh, that's not a very long time. I thought you were gonna say like 2 or 3 years.
Oh no. Whatever God put in my spirit to do, that's what I did.
Got you. So now do you like since then? I know it's been 20 years. So like do you get regular screenings now or just no, you just act like it was something that never happened? Oh goodness Jesus.
Well, my girls asked me, Mom, when you gonna go get a mammogram? I say, you find what you're looking for. No, I know that's not good to say. Don't nobody listen to me. That's not good to say. That's not what I'm saying. But that was, I guess, a part of me was a little afraid or something. You know, I didn't want to hear anything. So I say, what you don't know don't hurt, but what you don't know do hurt. So I just haven't been back.
In 20 years?
No.
Wow.
Okay, so I know you do go to the regular doctor, right?
When I need to.
Oh, Lady Peyton.
I knew that was coming.
Okay.
I'm getting ready to start because I know I'm getting up in age. I'm gonna start going back. I'm gonna go and start getting some regular checkups. I am. But my thing is, I feel fine. I just feel like I'm okay, you know. But that's not necessarily the fact all the time. But I'm gonna do better.
I would just want to say right now, you sound like a man. Men are usually the ones, you know, they're like, I feel fine. You know, like,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. All right.
So I go to the smash and grab every year, and I hate it.
You do what?
The smash and grab.
I go to the smash and grab every year, and I hate it. I literally I bruise and everything. So this year, a company came to our school to like give away some stuff for teachers, and it was a doctor's office, and they told us it's one in Conyers. Because every time I go, I tell the girl, I like, there has to be a better way of doing these mammograms than like the smush and smash. Like, there has to be a better way. So there's one doctor's office in the entire state of Georgia that has this new innovative machine where they do not have to smash and grab. She said that like you lay down, and if I had the name of the company, I would like put it in the comments and everything. You lay down and like they lay your breast into the machine and it scans it. So it's very new, it's very innovative. And she said that more doctors' offices are about to start getting these machines. But of course, the new machine is super expensive. But it does take away the smash and grab. They are in Conyers. I do know that. And I told her that next year when it's time for my smash and grab, if my doctor does not have the new machine, I'm coming to them.
Okay. So
it makes the process easier and not so painful.
Okay, when they do the scanning, what is it? They using radiation?
No, I don't know all the technology, but it's like the same thing that they would use to do, I guess, like X-rays or like ultrasound.
Which is radiation.
Is it?
Yeah, they use radiation for X-rays.
Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm a teacher. I don't know.
That's why they always have you put on, you know, that's why you put on the vest when you get an X-ray.
My last X-ray.
I think that was part of the reason why I was afraid to go back.
Okay, I got you.
Because I know radiation causes cancer.
Right.
Well, I am not sure about that part, but they did make this machine sound a lot better than the smash and grab, so I was willing to go. Now I got to read and do some research.
Well, I will say I definitely believe that you know, the screenings are important because you know, better to find out, you know, earlier rather than later.
Yes, it is.
So that is always very important. I will say that, you know, your faith is very important too, because, you know, without like if Lady Peyton was somebody else, it would have been definitely a different experience for her. You know, if she didn't have your faith. Is that fair to say that your faith is what helped you get through it?
Yes, my faith in what God spoke to me. because like I said, I was kind of not knowing what to do. And I just got on the floor and just laid before God. And I said, Lord, I need you to speak to me and let me know just what I need to do. And because I had made that declaration at one time, long time ago, that if I ever got cancer, I wasn't going to do chemo. So I said, God, don't put me to the test to see am I going to stand on what I said, or was I going to just talk? You know, people can talk, but they don't walk it. So I said, are you testing me to see if I'm going to do this? But when I got off the floor, I had peace. And when God gave me that peace, I knew I was okay.
Gotcha.
I will say, like, I would definitely be the person in the bathroom crying. Like, because, you know, like, you know, my kids would be watching, you know, your husband's watching. You got to try to have, you know, yes, I got it, I believe, but I'm gonna cry. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like,
There's nothing wrong with crying, you know, because I'm telling you, when I first was diagnosed with that, it was hard. I mean, I used to look up at the trees and say, oh, I'm not going to see this anymore. You know, all kind of stuff would come to my head. I said, let me enjoy the light now. Let me enjoy the outside. So because how long I'm going to see this? You know, all kind of stuff would come to my head.
okay.
Till I got myself together.
Okay.
I think that's key too, like just to know that it's not just because you have faith in God for your healing and faith to get through a process, that it doesn't mean that thoughts don't come to your mind. It doesn't mean that you don't feel the emotions. It doesn't mean that, you know, everything is, you know, just rainbows and butterflies the entire time.
It's a fight.
Yeah.
You have to fight. It's a fight. Even after I was declared that I was healed and didn't have it anymore, the devil kept whispering to my mind, to my head, but it could come back. I said, look, I just talked back at him. I said, look, what God does, he does well, and he don't have to do it. So whenever he talked, I talked right back at him.
So 20 years ago, how old were your girls?
They was in their 20s.
And how was the experience for them?
Oh, it was devastating. I mean, Erica said nothing. She said that nothing matters to her anymore. You know how she was excited about certain things. She said that was nothing. It didn't even matter to her anymore. And my sons, why my mom or something, you know. But you know, I don't know. All of them had a different way of dealing with it, but we got through it.
So what was it that made you feel like you had to share that with them? And was there ever a time or a thought where you opted not to? Because like that's what I was talking to Samantha about originally. Like if I'm faced with something to that magnitude, like I'm already thinking like it would be selfish of me to keep that to myself, not to burden anyone else. But in the same token, like, you know, getting news. So if I'm going to fight this fight, if I'm going to have faith and I'm going to believe God, when or where is it do I share this with my children, my husband, if he went with me, my family? Like, how was it for you to make those kind of decisions to say when and if those were options for you?
Well, my daughter was the one that had the dream that told me that I need to go see the doctor because she knew something was going on. So she already knew. She used to dream about a lot of stuff, and whatever she dreamed, I grasped to it. I mean, God was dealing with her in dreams, telling her what to tell me. So I already knew. So they knew, and I didn't want to keep anything from them because if something had happened, then that would be more devastating because they didn't prepare themselves. So there's a way you can do it without just bombarding them with it. But they was pretty cool about it. You know, they didn't get too bent out of shape. They was upset, but it wasn't, you know, to the point that they fell apart. Because, you know, that's one thing I told. I even told my God or my husband, somebody, I said, you know what, if anybody had to get cancer, I'm glad it's me, because I felt like I could handle it better than they could. So I
Okay.
said, thank God you allowed me to go through it because I just felt like I could deal with it better than they could.
But isn't that a woman? Isn't that the nature of a woman? We gonna take it all for our family. We gonna take the hits. We gonna take the blows because we always feel like we're strong enough to take it. Trina said two things can be true. Lord, I believe you, but help my unbelief. Absolutely, absolutely. Because it's even in your, I think in your weakest moment is like I can say for myself, like I never doubt God. But like in my weakest moments, sometimes I'd be like, well, is he gonna do it for me? Not
Right.
like can he do it, but is he gonna do it for me? Like that's
Right.
usually the spaces where I'm like, "Ugh," like I know he can do it. That part is never a doubt. But I be wondering, Lord, well, are you gonna do it for me though? Like,
Well, you just have to believe he's gonna do it for you.
right.
Yeah. I think in listening to what Vanessa was saying about the processing of thinking about whether or not it's selfish to keep it to yourself or whether debating whether you should keep it to yourself or share it with your loved ones. I think I would think the same way too, because it's like you do think about the burden that a diagnosis can put on other family members and them worrying about you and not taking care of themselves even because they're trying to see about you or trying to take care of you. So and I remember watching you guys as you were going through the process, and I do feel like it was from the outside looking in, as far as a family, that it was very much a shared experience where like you were going through the physical diagnosis, but they were sharing in the moment by moment with you and being that support system. Do you think that in that token that it was more beneficial for you and for the process that they did have that you did have a support system, or do you think it would have been easier if you were able to just kind of like battle through it without too many people knowing?
I think the support system helped me because they was right there in the trenches with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they encouraged me. The fact that they was okay made me feel okay, but had they not been okay, then it probably would have messed with my mind. But because they was believing with me, then that gave me the courage to say, okay, all us believing together, it's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
The more people you have that's on your side and praying with you, then you just feel like you got a whole army helping you fight, so it was definitely a help to me.
Do you
For
think
me,
there's
it
an
would.
age? Go ahead, Vanessa.
Oh no, I was just gonna say for me, it would probably be some issues of the opposite because I don't always want to be strong. I don't always have the fortitude to keep that attaboy good spirit going. So those are some of the reasons why, like, it's the human side of me that says, oh my God, I know, I'll be able to face this and I know my family will support me. But what does that look like in those moments where I don't have it in myself to go on and be strong, and how you can even display those weaknesses and have them give you the support that you need to be able to continue through. You know what I'm saying? Like when my dad started getting sick and after he passed, and I talked to my mom and I was like, you should have said something, and she's like, that's my burden to bear. And like it's those battles that you have with yourself to say how much of you or your situation that you want to share, or that you're willing to allow yourself to be that vulnerable for people to see you at your lowest, or in a situation where you're not at, I guess, your best, whatever that may look like for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think if God deal with you if he's dealing with you to go through it, then he's gonna give you the strength to go through it. Now, if I was trying to do it on my own, probably would have fell apart. But because I was trusting him to take me through it, and he did, so I didn't feel like I want to fall apart. Do that make sense?
Mhm.
I just felt like God was there with me all the time. So I didn't have to act strong or feel like I had to be strong for anybody because he was giving me the strength to be strong.
Gotcha. So I know you're not a frequent doctor visitor, but like, so do you do at home self exams?
Yeah,
Like,
I
do you
do.
examine yourself? Okay. So
Yeah, I
you
do.
do some sort of,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And so, ladies, I know we are considerably younger and whatever. So, are you ladies doing home exams besides the smash and
No,
grab? You know that we do the yearly. Are you?
no,
No, is that you shaking your head up there? So you
no,
don't
I'm
do
saying no. I'm not even going to, pretend that I do. I do not. And I think that's probably one of, I guess, probably why when you go and you have, your mammograms done, you may get the information at that time if you are not doing the constant checks, if you're not, being more self-aware and self-conscious about what that looks like for you. So, I do not. I do not. And that was something that I was going to ask Lady because, you mentioned the size of the lumps that you had. So did they start out like one day you just woke up and they were like really big, or like was it a progression?
Well, I think I was bathing and I said, I feel a lump. But then I just dismissed it. I just felt like it must have been because I had a sister. When you're going through, you get that age that you're going through change in life, that some women get those cysts in their breasts. So I figured that's what it was. So I just dismissed it, just crazy, just dismissed it. And until my daughter had that dream and told me, please go to the doctor. So I did. I'm glad I listened to her because I might not be here if I had.
She
Absolutely.
said also you can get genetic testing for markers if there's a family history. Okay. See, I didn't.
Yeah. I've heard about the genetic testing. If there's some women go through the genetic testing and like something comes back that says that they may be they may potentially have breast cancer later in life, and they go forward and do like the mastectomy in advance beforehand. I've heard of that because they're like trying to prep for it. So I don't know if it comes back in percentages or what happens, but like people have gone as far as like, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and move forward with making sure like kind of more of an advanced preventative action. I do think it's more of the extreme response. But I do self checks monthly. When I was younger, at some point a doctor told me that when you have your monthly cycle, that you should use that as your mental marker to go ahead and do your self checks. So as life has progressed and things have changed for me, I just have a habit of routinely checking. Just as I'm in the shower, I just kind of like do the check. And then one doctor said you're supposed to lay down and check, and another one was like just put your hands over your head and check. I don't know which is right, but I do check in the shower, just as a habit that I have. But I go to my yearly smash and grab too. So
Okay, with the smash and grab.
it's so sad. I really hate it when I have to go.
My friend who is a cancer survivor, she definitely talked to her girls about like when she found out, like that was like one of the first conversations that we had like on the way back from the cancer center was, I got to get my girls because they have to be tested. Like, I need to know, where we are with this. Like even like, and of course it's a little off topic, but like if you want to get a transplant, like, if you have bad kidneys or whatever, like if your donor wants to give you their kidneys, like they start doing all these tests that show you, well, look, this may be a risk later on in life. So you're not an avid candidate. So like, the way technology is going, they do have a lot of testing with the genetic markers that can kind of let you know what you may be quote unquote predisposed for later on in life. So, I mean, the earlier, we start looking at these things and making sure that, we're a little more health conscious, it always is better.
So is that for the ones that had cancer in the family, or they do genetic testing just period?
It's probably a little bit of both. Some people are just,
it's probably more
like,
expensive if you just want to know, like, for no reason. You just go to the doctor one day and be like, hey, look, just let me know, like, 10, 20 years from now what that'll look like. But I know, like I said, for her, since she had cancer, you know what I'm saying? Like, then it kind of make you dig into your family tree as well to kind of see, you know what I'm saying, what other people have passed away from and things of that nature when you start thinking about that. Because I know, you got this one that got diabetes and this one that got that, and then, but I think if I had girls and I am, recovering from breast cancer, that would definitely be like a spot on marker for me. Like, okay, we don't know if this is hereditary necessarily. You may know, maybe somebody else in the family, had passed away from cancer, or, had to fight that fight. So I don't think you would just apt to do it. But if you are, if something does prompt you, then I think that's probably definitely a good idea.
Okay. And Trina said my insurance paid because there was family history on my mom's side. Gotcha. I will say, like, I definitely do my yearly. I don't necessarily do the monthly or the rand, because, like, in my mind, I think my mind don't be working the way it should. Cause you start feeling, and I'm kind of like Lady Paint. You go looking for stuff, and then I'll be like, oh, what's that? Like, you go way down the road. You at the doctor for nothing. Like, so I don't do like all the random tests. I do get my smash and grab, Shanetta. I make sure that I do that. As far as like the family history, I feel like sometimes that's such a rabbit hole. Because if you start going down, there's always somebody that has something. Mm-hmm. And it's like you invite extra thoughts that you don't really need. I don't really need to know, kind of everything that everybody had, because
well, you want to, we just want to talk about your immediate family, not like, your cousins and uncles.
Okay, so all my grandparents died early, like on both sides. I don't even think they made it to 50. Like,
really?
My mom's, my dad's, like, yeah, they died early from something, whatever. I don't, like my grandmother, I'm 48. My grandmother died, I think she had just turned 41.
Oh, wow.
My grandfather was dead about maybe 5-6 years later. So, like, like for me, I don't really, like my mom is older than both her parents. Like now, she's already lived past. But like, my husband can tell you, like, I used to think I wasn't gonna live past 40. Like, because when you're looking at your family history, and I'm like, well, everybody died, and you start getting all these thoughts. So I got to the point where I'm just like, I try to do the things that I can, but I don't really get overly caught up in what everybody else has.
Yeah.
And with the self checks, like the doctor can show you where and how to look. Like I used to do them quite regularly, like a little earlier on. And then when they talk about, like, there's different things that you may think is a lump that really isn't because of the density in your breast and things like that. So it's best that if you're going to do it, it's after your doctor has shown you or told you, like you've got some extensive experience for someone with great subject matter expertise. And we're not just, squeezing and feeling. And then now we're on the internet and we got
you Googled it, right? Because it's no joke. Like you've definitely Googled it. And at this point, I've had my own funeral because I've Googled all the things that I'm dying. So,
yeah, you're coming back with more than just cancer,
right? Because that is exactly what happens. Like, don't let me feel something. And I'm like, oh, let me Google it. And then I done Googled, and now I'm like, I gotta go to the altar because, like, I need prayer. I need all the things because, like, I done stress myself out. And I get to the doctor, and he be like, girl, like, you all right? You good? And now I gotta go to the altar because I done cried my little heart out, and now I need strength.
Well, I will say it is very important after you get of age, and your doctor will tell you what age that is. You start having your yearly. Of course, if there's a history, they start them a little earlier. If there's not, you can wait a few years. It's not extremely comfortable as a test goes, but let's be honest, not too much stuff with the doctor is comfortable. Right. But most things are necessary. So it is necessary to get tested, to be aware of what's happening with your body, whether it's your breast or the rest of your body. As we age, things go to cracking, popping, snapping, all different things. So it's always good to be aware of what's happening with your body, as much as you can be. And then having a good doctor is important. As Lady Payne has said, your diet plays a big part in it.
And exercise. And exercise.
Right. And exercise. The walking, the eating right. A lot of stuff your grandmama used to make, you probably shouldn't necessarily really be making that no more. Because I've noticed things that people could eat back in the day, it's not really working out for us in 2024.
No.
So, your diet's important, trying to get in as much exercise as you can. I always find like if mentally, if I'm drained, if I'm whatever, I feel tireder, like I feel worn out. My body feels like it's under stress. So trying to, stay as stress-free as possible is always good. As Lady Payne talked about, having a support system, keeping your family involved, even if it's just wanting to be more active, get your family involved. It's sometimes it's easier to do things when you have other people to do it with. Having a community, all those things, your faith, her faith definitely guided her through the whole process because I don't know where I would have begun. Like, I don't know where you begin, but her faith, she kept her faith intact from beginning to the end. And as you guys can see, 20 years, I'm not even going to call her a cancer survivor because I'm sure she don't call herself a cancer survivor. What do you consider yourself, Lady Payne?
I am a survivor.
Okay. I just didn't know if you had a different term. I didn't want to try to minimalize it. So yeah, 20 years, a cancer survivor, never having a reoccurring issue. That is all a testament. Like, I know someone, she had it twice. Like she had it, and then some years later, it came back, and she survived it twice. She's still here, and and living her life, but she's had to endure it more than once. So let's be aware. If you've never had a mammogram and you're over 40, sweetie, go get your smash and grab. Go and get it done. And if you're unaware how to do home tests, Google is your friend. Google will tell you how to do it until you can get to a doctor. Start somewhere. That's all I'm saying. Don't somewhere.
Google too much though. Just start with just how to do the self-exam. Just don't Google too much.
You're right. Lady Payne, did you want to have any final words?
Well, just do it like you said. Do your self-exams, and the ones that want to do the smash and grab, do that too. But it's important that you take care of yourself and eat right and exercise, because that's what's going on now. Back in the day when the older people, they raised their own food, they didn't have to eat all the stuff that man is putting in the food. Now it's not so much the food, it's what people are doing to the food to make $1. They injecting so much stuff in there, and then we're eating it, and all that stuff is getting in our bodies, causing our cells to go crazy. So you have to be sure that you eat properly, eat the right foods. If you can, eat organic food. So you won't have to eat all the, the pesticides and all the stuff they're putting on the food. That's causing all these problems in our bodies. So we got to take responsibility for our own health now, because the doctors, they do all they're not the answer. You got to do what you can do for yourself. Pray and ask God to give you wisdom and knowledge what to do, and don't be lazy. Just do it. Sometimes you just don't feel like it, but you just got to have some discipline and say, I'm gonna do this, and do it. I tell you, God had me on that mandate. I went to Maryland with my sister when she was sick, and they were having some kind of study for her in Maryland. We was in a hotel. I was mandated to walk. I said, look, I'll be back. I'm finna go out here and walk. I went walking down, I forgot the Sunset Boulevard. I don't know where I was at. I went walking down the street because I just felt like I needed to walk. So I knew that God had me on that path. Didn't know why, but that's what was going on.
Well, you guys have heard it from a survivor, her own words. So eat right. Do what you can do for you. The doctor should be a last resort, not a first. So if you can do things to prevent it, to be healthy, by all means, let's make sure we do that. We want to be here as long as possible. I don't think anybody is in a rush to get out of here. So we are typically on every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lady Payton, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story. We appreciate it. We wanted to make sure we close out the month with an actual survivor, somebody that can speak to the experience. So we thank you. I appreciate it very much. I'm mixing up my words.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So ladies, I will see y'all next week. And until then, everyone, be safe.
Be safe. Good night.
Thank you for watching The Sisters of Legacy.
Oh, it disintegrated.
Like I opened it
and it was gone.
Not it was gone.
How old was it?
It wasn't even old, and I hadn't even heated it up or nothing. Thank you.
I can't turn it off.